In the final days of World War II, four exhausted Russian comrades, Danil, Sergey, Dmitry, and Leonty, stumbled upon an ancient, snow-covered monastery deep in the Carpathian mountains. They were cut off from their unit after a brutal firefight with German forces. Starving, freezing, and desperate for shelter, they forced open the iron gates and made their way inside. The monastery, once a place of worship, had been repurposed during the war as a secret field hospital for wounded SS officers. Dust-covered beds lined the old sanctuary, and rusted surgical tools still lay scattered on tables. The walls were smeared with faded blood and German inscriptions. The comrades lit a small fire in one of the side rooms and decided to spend the night before trying to regroup with their army the next morning. But from the very first hour inside, something felt wrong. The silence of the monastery wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like it was watching them. Danil was the first to hear it, soft, murmured prayers in Latin, echoing from deep beneath the stone floors. Sergey shrugged it off as the wind, but that night, as the snowstorm raged outside, they all woke to the sound of phantom footsteps pacing the upper corridor, boots clicking steadily, pausing outside their door, then continuing on. By the next day, strange things had begun to happen. Dmitry found his boots filled with fresh blood, though there were no wounds on his feet. Leonty swore he saw a tall figure in an SS uniform standing silently at the altar during dawn, then vanish when he blinked. Even the air had a bitter, metallic taste, like old iron. The comrades tried to leave, but every door led them back inside. Even smashing a stained glass window only revealed stone behind it. They were trapped in the monastery. As panic grew, they discovered a hidden stairway behind a bookshelf in the old library. It spiraled downward into what appeared to be an underground medical wing. The corridor was lined with rusting stretchers and broken lights. But at the far end was a locked room with the German word verboten, forbidden, painted in flaking red across it. Danil picked the lock with his knife. Inside, they found dozens of patient records, but all with the same photo: a smiling, blue-eyed German officer. The files described him as Subject 42, part of a Nazi experiment in consciousness transfer, an occult ritual designed to allow dying officers to bind their minds to physical places so their cause would live on. A strange, ritualistic circle of ash and bone lay in the center of the room. In the far corner, a German radio crackled to life, repeating only one word over and over: Bleib. Stay. Suddenly, Sergey collapsed, convulsing. When he opened his eyes, they were clouded and distant. He stood up, stiff and robotic, and whispered in perfect German, "Ihr gehört jetzt uns." You belong to us now. The comrades realized with horror that one of the spirits had possessed Sergey. They tried to restrain him, but the air grew thick and black. Shadows pulled themselves off the walls and marched like ghost soldiers, silent and stern, eyes glowing white. Danil, thinking fast, dragged the others back into the ritual room and set fire to the circle. The flames turned blue and a deafening scream erupted from the walls. Sergey collapsed again, coughing violently, and the shadows froze, then began to dissolve into ash. Morning light pierced through the cracked dome. The front door, once sealed, now stood open. They fled into the snow, never speaking of what had happened. But as they reached the tree line, Leonty turned to check behind and saw Sergey standing still at the threshold of the monastery, staring blankly. Then Sergey smiled, just a little too widely, and slowly closed the door behind him. The remaining comrades never found him again. Some say that even now, in the dead of winter, you can hear prayers echoing from the monastery ruins and the boots of a soldier who never left.